Welcome to episode 13. In this episode we're going to be continuing work on the gas bottle box. So before we start doing any painting in here, I need to cut some bits and pieces. Down in the bottom I've ordered some sort of three-pronged bases that these sit on. I don't really know if there's going to be enough room in this enclosure for them. Maybe we can trim them and make them fit just to keep these where they are, and then we can, you know, put a strap or a bar across the top to keep them down in those bases so they're not going to rattle and roll about in here when the boat's on the waves. And we need to make a mounting bar across the back here for the bubble tester, which I'm just going to put right there in the middle, and then some P-clips which will go on the copper pipe coming out of it, and then the bulkhead connectors going to go through the end there. The boat safety scheme says that this has to be fitted in such a way that the only thing connected to the Alde bubble tester is up to 1 metre of gas hose going to the regulator, which is fine. And then from the bubble tester to the bulkhead connector can be anything, but from the bulkhead connector on the other side, it must be copper. But we're going to do copper between the Alde bubble tester and the bulkhead connector, and just sort of bend that in onto a mounting rail there for these P-clips so that it's out of the way of this bottle when we pull this out. And the mounting rail, I just found this piece of aluminium, so I'm going to cut this to length, and then we'll drill and tap this where we need to. So I think we just get this camera positioned and get on with it. So I've cut this piece, chamfer these edges just to go over where the wires have come through in the corner welds. That's going to go across there. Bubble tester's going to go dead centre. And the bulkhead fitting I've measured to go through down in there. So we'll just get these drilled out. This I'm going to drill and tap so that we can, you know, thread bolts in through the bubble tester into that. I don't want to drill through this box. You're allowed to drill through it for the bulkhead connector, but the boat safety scheme says there shouldn't be any other, you know, drillings in it really, any other way for gas to escape into the inside. You've got to keep it to a minimum, so the bulkhead connector is the only thing really we want going through there. So yeah, we just get this drilled and tapped. What we're going to have to do is do all of this cutting before we paint anything, because this is just going to scratch all the paint if we try and do this later, even though the paint is going, you know, behind it. So yeah, we get everything cut and drilled, and then we'll put some paint on a bit later on. So we've cut that piece of copper to fit in there quite nicely. I'm not going to bother with P-clips on there, it's just not necessary, it's so close. Yeah, that sort of just keeps the joins as short as possible. We just put the, you know, the rubber gas hose and the reg on there. So we're just going to take this out now because we need to carry on with some other pieces of this box. This will have to be Sikaflexed in. I'm not going to bother with welding or anything up here. We're just going to Sikaflex all these bits and pieces into this box. So yeah, we'll just take this out for now, carry on with something else. Now we need to look at these hinges. So I bought these stainless steel hinges. They're quite sort of heavy duty, heavy gauge things, but they can't just be screwed to the deck because they're too low. We wouldn't be able to screw them into the side of the lid, so I'm going to need to make a spacer and bond that spacer to the deck, and then these will have to bolt through the spacer through the deck, the bolts on the inside. So what we need to do to start with is get some pieces of the seal we're using around here and just sort of put it around so that the lid sits exactly true and at the correct level, so that then we can decide what spacer we need down here. Then on the other side of that lid, I think part of this job really we should weld on a stainless steel eye for a padlock, because when we're away from the vessel, this could do with being locked up really. I don't want anyone stealing the gas boxes or gas bottles or messing around in here. So we'll look at that a bit later as well. So I've just cut some of the surplus on these seals. We're just going to put this over the corners. Just to sort of sit the lid up where it's going to be in its final position. Although these bits will be stuck on the inside of the lid, I'm just going to stick them to these spacers for now, because until the lid's painted I'm not ready to stick anything in there. This way we'll have a double seal. We'll have this rubber U-channel over the bottom piece, which no water's going to get up under that, and then this adhesive seal on the inside of the lid to stop anything splashing up under the lid and passing that seal. Right, let's see if this fits. These pieces, because they go over the inside and the outside of this lip, this will position the lid exactly square where it's going to go, because we don't want to get these hinges on in the wrong place. It's a relief, that kind of fits quite well. Quite a bit of play in it, didn't expect that much play, but that's okay. We'll make sure the play all around it is even, all the way around. That's fine. So as you can see here, to screw these to the side of that, we need to lift these up. So we need to find a spacer. It's just a question of how big the spacer needs to be. That looks about 10 mil there. Well, we could possibly get away with about 6 mil. So we're going to see what steel we've got. I think what I can probably get away with doing here, instead of having to weld all this down, is just bond this to the deck with Sikaflex, because the bolts are going to go straight through and be bolted to the inside anyway. So this will just be like one big washer, as it were. So yeah, let's see what metal we got. I've just drawn this spacer. I think this 5 mil, still got a bit of this 5 mil left. I think it's 5 mils enough. If we go up any more, then when I put these bolts through into the side of that lid, it's going to conflict with the top surface of the lid, so it needs to be quite low. So I'm just going to cut this out and offer it up. Yeah, looks pretty good. Let's have a closer look. So yeah, I've just kind of shaped this to match the hinges. We want the hinges sort of as close to the edge as we can get, really, but I need some room here for drainage. So I think that first screw will go in 4 centimetres from the edge. Same with the other one. Now what we're going to do, I'm just going to clean this piece of steel up, and then I'm going to clean the deck back and bond it to the deck with Sikaflex, and then let that dry. And then the next stage, once it's dry, we'll be punching and drilling these holes through for these hinges. Right, we just put some Sikaflex under this. Need both hands. So just Sikaflex this down, position it and let it dry, because we'll epoxy over all of this, so it'll all just be one sort of smooth, homogeneous area. I'm going to leave that weld in there and then filler over that with some body filler when it's all dried in. I've cleared this back because I realised it was going to be difficult to get the grinder in there to clear that later. Once this is in place, we'll just end up doing more damage, so I can do that bit with the belt file. So I've just cleared back around there. Right, I think that's probably enough. So let's get that seated. So this is going to sit 2 centimetres inside of there. That's 31. That's 27. Yeah. So I'll just run a bit more Sikaflex around the outside to sort of smooth that edge so it blends into the deck nicely. Saves us having to mess about with filler later on. Don't think there's much more we can do with this today. We just need to let this Sikaflex dry. I don't want to get any more dust or debris in it. Next little job, we need to go back in here. And we need to cut a stainless steel base to drop in there. What we're going to do when these mounting rings for the gas bottles turn up, as long as we've got enough room for them in there, we'll bond those to the stainless steel base with screw them to the stainless steel base, and then we will bond the stainless steel base to the bottom of this with Sikaflex so that they'll be sort of firm in the bottom. They're not going to roll about anywhere. Snug fit, so just going to template this. Okay. Okay, so something we need to do with this gas bottle box is make some kind of holders which the gas bottles can sit in so that they don't rock about in the enclosure and take all the paint off the sides. So I found these sort of gas bottle holders for, I don't know, like leisure use, and I've tried them on this plate and they just about fit. I'll just have to take the smallest amounts off of them, but they fit really rather well. And they also came with these to sort of strap vertically. I don't know if there's enough room around the bottles. We're only going to find out when we put them in, but if we can use those too, that would be really neat. It'll save me having to look for something else to strap them down. Failing that, I could just put like a sort of crocodile clamp strap underneath here and over the top of the bottle, but you know, the tops of the bottle, they don't really want to hold a strap. You know, a strap will just slip off of this. So if we could use those, that'd be really good. So we're just going to drill these plates now, and sit these bottles on there, see what it looks like. Okay, I've drilled and tapped this plate, and I'm just going to now screw these down with these little stainless steel screws, stud lock them in. And let's just try them for size. Yep. Works really well as well. Right, we just need to mix up a bit of filler. We're going to start shaping the edge around the gas bottle box, ready to give it a little paint. Right, so it's time to put some colour in this box. We need to do the final coat in here because on top of the final coat we're going to be putting the the aluminium mounting bar and that, and the gas bottle fixing base, sealing all of that in. So we need to get the final colour on now. So I've just opened it up for the first time. It's called Silver Grey, RAL 7001. It's sort of like a warship colour. This is just going on the upper surfaces, and then I'm thinking blue on the sides, and then a silver or a red anti-foul. So yeah, let's just measure some of this out and get it mixed up. So I've given this a couple of coats with the roller. It's still a little bit thin in places, but it's pretty good. But it's getting to that point, it's starting to go tacky now, so I'm going to have to stop. I'll come back tomorrow and give it one final coat. We're just doing the inside surfaces. We're still going to come back later and do the outside properly with the spray gun, because the finish of this with all the little bubbles that the roller puts into it, it's fine for inside a gas bottle box, but I wouldn't want that outside. So the outside needs to be sprayed. So yeah, tomorrow we just come back, one final coat on this, then we'll put it all together. Okay, so this first couple of coats of the 2K final colour is cured. It's the roughest finish I've ever seen with a roller with this 2K paint. I mean, The roller was fine, it didn't sort of break away or leave any bits in it, but this is just air bubbles. It creates so many air bubbles as that roller goes back and forth. It's just not the tool to put this on with, so it's fine for this box. You know, this is inside, but on the outside we're definitely going to be spraying this vessel. There's absolutely no way I'm putting anything on with the roller, it's just too rough. So yeah, I mean, this is fine to proceed with this now. Had a bit of a mishap, the roller dried out overnight, so I can't give this any more coats of paint, but what we're going to do is stick that Alde bubble tester and the bar in there. We're going to stick the base in, which I've got here now, and we're going to bolt the lid down, get the seals in it, and then figure out how we're going to make a lock. So I've bought this lovely brass lock with a stainless steel shroud around it, and I'm going to make a lock so that padlock sits off the deck, so it can't conflict with the deck, and it sits flat like this so it doesn't get in the way of the walkway. So we're then just going to make a couple of stainless steel tags coming off of this so we can bolt it down, but I want it to be so it bolts down tight with the lid tightly closed. So there's no gaps around under the seal. So we'll do that once we've bolted this all down and got the seals fitted. All right, here goes nothing. Already made a mess. Come on, I know you fit. All right, next job is this. Is the bulkhead and this bar, this mounting bar. So let's move that out of the way. Got the bulkhead, needs to go in here. Just going to put tiniest bit of Sikaflex around there just to make sure we've got an airtight seal there. Pop that in there. Okay. And now this mounting bar. I think the only important thing with this mounting bar is that it's mounted so the top of this doesn't conflict with the seals on the inside of the lid. So just 3 or 4 mil underneath the lid. I think that'll do. 'Bit of a fiddle. .5 centimeters below the top. I think that's a good position. I think I need something just to push that over so it's up against there, because there's a slight bow in that, slight sort of bow in that back piece there. So let's just go and find something to do that. Okay, so this is the morning after. All the Sikaflex is sealed now, so this bar's on nice and securely. The base is sealed in. And we're just going to start connecting some of these gas fittings up now. Got a couple of these little 8mm copper pipe inserts to stop the pipe collapsing when you tighten these compression fittings down. So we'll just put these in and we'll start to pinch up some of these nuts. Right. We'll do a leak test on these when we finally connect the gas up once the whole boat's done, but for now we're just pinching these up so nothing gets in them if the box leaks or that. It's about as tidy as it's going to get. We need to put the bulkhead nut on the inside of that as well. We're just going to do that in just a second. This is the spigot for the rubber gas hose that goes to the regulator. Okay, now I think we can lift the gas bottles in, and then we can connect this hose up, and then that's basically us done in here. Okay. Piece will do. Okay, I'll tighten that up in just a minute. The rag on. Man, that's tight. That's basically it. Let's just check that it all fits together. Going for a tool-free propane reg. So you don't need the spanner, because otherwise you only end up dropping the spanner on the deck and chipping the paint. So anything to make life easier on board, that's what we're going for. So that's that. Yeah, that all fits in there quite nicely. So I'll just get the socket, we tighten those up, and then we're done in here. Okay, there's one other thing I want to just look at whilst we're in here. As part of the base plates for these came these clamps. Now I didn't know whether there'd be room for these in here because everything's quite tight, but there is. I've just slid these down the back and there's enough room for a 6mm aluminium strip just like that behind these across there. I don't have any of this stuff left at the moment, so I'm going to have to try and either cut a piece or find something else to use, but we'll do that another day. But yeah, we'll stick another strip of that alley across the back, and then this will you know, stop those gas bottles rocking about if we're out at sea. So yeah, we'll work on those another day, but that's brilliant that they work too. The final little job we need to do on this is to put this lock on it. Now, rather than put the padlock sort of right there in the middle of the gangway, I'm going to put it to the edge, and at least you can, you know, get a boot down there. And there's a slight twist on this lid, as we found before, and it happens to be, you know, a slightly sort of risen in this corner, so this will be fine. We can stand on this, put the padlock on, and by standing on it we'll compress all those seals in the top. So we'll put that there. I found some offcuts here. These are just the 2 offcuts from the bow roller modification. I think I'm going to use one of these to form the little tag on here. Sort of put that there somehow. And then from this offcut from the, you know, the vane guide for the anchor, we'll create a vertical piece on the deck next to that this bolt on the padlock can go through, and we get those welded down. I've been busy cutting some locking pieces to make a lock to lock this lid down. So using the padlock, which I think you've seen, I've made this piece which is going to weld to the deck and support the padlock whilst the pin goes through it. And then these 2 little teeth, which we're going to weld to here, which will go underneath the bar of the padlock and hold the lid down once the bar and the padlock is in place. So we just need to weld these now to here. Okay, and on the deck here, we're just going to weld this tag there. So the padlock goes like this. When that pin goes through there, it'll stop the hatch from coming undone. And this tag being shaped like that supports the padlock, so it'll just sit really neatly like this. What I'm going to do with this, although it's stainless, because the weld is, you know, mixed with the mild steel in this, I'm just going to paint the whole thing, and then where it bears through, where that pin goes through, which will just be just across the tips of these teeth, it will be stainless steel under there, so you won't need to worry about it rusting. But it's better if I paint the whole thing now, rather than try and be clever and leave some of it stainless, because it didn't look very nice anyway. This one's a bit different. We're going to leave the stainless exposed because there's plenty of stainless there that's got a good finish on it. We're just going to paint around the weld at the bottom. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.